Welcome to One Mind Zen. Tonight's Dharma talk is given by Minwee Maitri.
I call my talk today that I've been thinking about over the last couple of days, the gift of the wall. And that's why I changed my background here behind me to a meditation wall, a cave. You can reflect back, think back to Bodhidharma sitting in the cave, etc. But staring at the wall. So here's the universal frustration I think that all Zen practitioners face at some point in their practice. Someone, usually yourself if you look in the mirror and think about it, but someone in the Sangha always asks, I've been sitting for many months or I've been sitting for many years and I've stopped making progress. My practice is dry. I just don't feel like I'm getting anywhere. I don't feel peaceful anymore. What am I doing wrong? The reality of life is we live in a transactional world. We work, we get paid. So we're conditioned to believe we put effort in, we get a paycheck out. And we subconsciously bring this to the cushion with us when we sit, or to the chair, or wherever it is you practice your meditation. So we sit, and then we expect to get something out of it. We expect the universe to pay us for the work that we're putting in. Pay us in peace, in insight, enlightenment, wisdom, something. It's human nature. We think we're going to get something out of it. And when the paycheck stops, you haven't failed. Your practice has actually just begun. So some of you know I have been, over the past year or so, kind of comparing Western monks to Eastern monks. How do we gain insight depending on your tradition? Where does it come from? Where do we, what can we learn from both sides of the coin? So I'm going to start today by telling you about a Western monk. So in the 16th century in Spain, there was a monk named John. I'm sure his name was Juan, but he's worldwide known as John now. And he was locked in a closet. He was a Carmelite monk. And he was locked in a closet by his own brothers, his own monastery companions, because he was trying to reform his monastery order, his monastic order. And they locked him in a closet that was like 6 feet by 10 feet, no windows, and he sat in the dark. And they'd come and they would beat him regularly. They would starve him, really abuse the guy. And he sat in that total darkness and he mapped out the ultimate destruction of the human ego, which he then memorialized after he was freed in a work called The Dark Night of the Soul. So John taught this, that he learned from his own experiences sitting in this dark room. He learned that when we first begin our spiritual practice, we're given sensible consolations. Meditation feels good. We get a rush of peace. We feel calm. We like that feeling. We think, oh, I'm changing. I'm becoming a better person. John called this spiritual milk for babies. But there's a trap there. The ego, the human ego, is really, really sneaky. And it simply trades worldly attachment, money, status. For John, freedom, 3 square meals a day, whatever. The ego teaches us to change this attachment to worldly things into an attachment for spiritual things. That feeling of being peaceful, or that feeling of being enlightened, having insight, gaining wisdom. It's a trade-off. It's still the ego telling us this is something I have accomplished. So we fall in love with the tool, the cushion, the mantra, whatever it is, we fall in love with it because we feel it is giving us something back. In Zen speak, we fall in love with the raft that carries us to the other side, right? The other shore. In The Dark Night of the Senses, John wrote that when the peace vanishes, sitting becomes boring, physically tedious, dry. The ego panics because it's no longer getting paid. We're putting in the effort. We're sitting. I set my clock. I know my alarm rings after 30 minutes. I know I had a good 30-minute meditation. But damn, if I didn't get anything out of it, I'm putting in the effort. Why am I not seeing the results? Right? When the ego panics that you're not getting paid, John says, this is not a failure. This is a massive spiritual promotion. The universe is starving your ego to ask, are you here for the good feelings? Or are you here for the truth? The story of John in the 16th century Spanish monastery is paralleled by 13th century Dogen in Japan and his teachings on shikantaza. Dogen recognized the exact same trap. If you sit in zazen, in order to gain something, in order to achieve kinsho, to gain peace, or to make progress, you have instantly split the world into two. You have created this duality of I, who is lacking, and the enlightenment out there in the future. Remember, when we sit expecting something in return, we are waiting to be paid. Right? It's the ego saying, I put something in, I want something back. But that's not Zen practice. And when we come to that realization that I'm not getting anything back, then we better understand what John was telling us. That's when we've really just begun. I think back often to Huairong and Matsu and polishing that tile, polishing that stone, whatever it was, a brick, into a mirror, right? Matsu's sitting in the courtyard and he's meditating hard. He is concentrated. He's zoned out the rest of the world behind him, but he starts hearing this scratching. He realizes it's his master, and he turns around, and what does he see? He sees his master grinding this tile. What does the master tell him? You're no more going to gain enlightenment from sitting than I'm going to gain a mirror from polishing this tile. He's not telling him not to meditate. He's telling him, stop seeking while you're doing it. Just do it. So shikantaza, I guess I've never been a Soto Zen practitioner, and I'm not a Japanese linguist, but I think it just means just sitting. And that was Dogen's answer. Just sit. Abandon whatever your objective was. The sitting is not a means to the end. The sitting is the end. Now, this is interesting in our tradition because Sung San wrote a book, and I'm sorry if I mess up the name of it, but it was like Seeking Enlightenment is Big Mistake. And I think that's the right name of it. And it's the same concept, the exact same concept that Dogen's trying to teach here, and that John of Spain taught in the West. When you're seeking, you're just creating this duality of the ego wanting something back from your practice. So we take this concept from Sung San and we look at it and we say, hey, that is John of Spain. John tells us why this dryness, why this boring, why I've given up, I'm not getting anything out of this. He tells us why it happens. Because it's the ego wanting something. And Dogen then tells us how to endure it. Stop wanting. Stop expecting. Just sit. The physical, oh, my back hurts, my leg hurts, my hip hurts, whatever, or the mental discomfort. Why am I doing this? This is boring. Okay, I've done this for 15 minutes already. This is boring. I got to stop doing this. I'm not getting anything out of it. The mental discomfort is our mind whispering to us, you're not making progress. I'm wasting my time. But that's the second arrow. The first arrow is let me back up here. So that dry practice, that mental or physical discomfort is the first arrow. But the second arrow is the one where you just want to give up, where the mind just tells you stop doing it. Drop it. If you feel you're not making progress, drop it. Drop the expectations. When you finally stop demanding that your meditation makes you feel a certain way, the static of the ego gets cut out. We drop the I. You're no longer trying to get somewhere else. You accept the stark reality of the present moment, exactly as it is, even if it's boring or even if it's dry. If your practice feels stagnant, be happy. That's the spiritual milk being taken away, as John said. Now's when you can grow. I think, how do I do this for myself? How do I apply this to my own practice? As Sung San tries to teach us, don't seek peace, don't seek enlightenment, don't seek insight, don't seek progress, just do it. But it's what I like to apply is something we do in our practice here every week. Instead of doing it for me, always dedicate your miracle. to someone else. If I sit, I'm not asking to be paid. But if I can pay someone else, if I can dedicate my merit to someone else, I've encapsulated that whole bodhisattva spirit of saving all sentient beings. Don't do it for you. When you give up doing it for you and you just do it as Dogen teaches us, that's when you've really begun to practice. So as Dogen said, just sit. If your practice feels dry, if you feel like you're wasting your time, rejoice. You've stopped receiving the baby's milk. Now you can start to receive the real milk, the real meat, the steak and potatoes of the whole meal. Just